GameStop problems. This is kind of interesting because first of all, let me summarize. GameStop is a company that you can buy video games from. It's probably the hardcore gamers church, right? I mean, they're all still pushing deals all the time, especially with the transition of everything going to digital. I've always wondering about the longevity of this company. And you can tell that this is kind of like they're grasping at straws. But apparently what's been going on is it's nothing new that they've done used games, which are usually a great way to get games for dirt cheap. I always laugh when people would say, I don't want to get it used. I'm like, it's the same ones and zeros. Who fucking cares? You know, it runs the exact same. It's not like you're going to get a shitty record with scratches on it. It either plays perfect or it doesn't. You're good. If you can get it for $20 versus $50, I would go for the $20. Publishers don't love it very much because obviously,
they don't love it at all.
And game developers don't because they put their blood, sweat, and tears in. It's hard enough for them to get a return on a game and make the money off of all their hard work for years, because when one game that they sell goes into circulation for 3 people and they only see the return from one of those sales, I can understand their trepidation of that. But GameStop itself makes a lot of profit off of that, and they have this new program they've implemented that they call the Circle of Life, where they buy back. They want to sell you something, and then they want you to sell it back to GameStop, which they will buy for dirt cheap, and they will sell it for close to new pricing. And so there's even been examples of where, like, Titanfall 2 did not sell very well, so they dropped the price. Not GameStop, but like, you know, the publishers down to like $30, and they're still trying to sell their used copies for $50, where they bought it back from someone for $15, and now instead of the average $12 that they make per game per $60 game that they sell, they made a profit of $30 to $35 per disc. So they've even had people that are lying and saying they don't have stock of the new stuff to get their used stuff sold more. And while the company said that's not their policy, but they have admitted, yes, they do have quotas and numbers, and if the sales associates at these GameStops don't hit a certain quota of how much are you selling a percentage of used, they can get in trouble and they can get fired. With GameStop coming back and saying, the vast majority of our employees are honest, they don't do stuff like this, it's not how we do business. The guy that wrote the article had 100 examples.
Well, they have a Reddit thread on this.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah.
And you know that if this is the way that they're doing now, I'm not saying GameStop's shouldn't be allowed to do this. They're a company. You can do what you want to do. I know that the economy is always shifting towards performance based. I don't know how long that's going to keep employees or. I mean, would you ever, when you know about this, I don't know if it would affect you going into a GameStop. I myself usually get all my stuff digital. Again, I know that there's pros and cons of all sides. I like that if I buy it digital, I like something on the PS4, I can go to visit somebody in another state, log in with my PlayStation account, and instantly I have access to my game. I can download in the background. I can play it from anywhere. If I lose the game or have to delete it because we're out of space, I can download it at any point in the future. I just like that versatility, and probably the biggest thing for me is because I'm so apathetic and love, from a home server to Plex to everything else, I like my shit on demand. I don't want to have to put in a disc if I don't need to.
Yeah,
that's just me.
About this.
There's obviously that. So I like that aspect, but when you see that the way that they do stuff like this, even if I was going to buy a disc, I wouldn't want to go in there. But then I'm thinking, well, now you're hurting the employees. You're not hurting GameStop.
And this is when I read this article and I started going through it, all I could think of is that, my God, the employee situation there is the exact same thing that happened at Wells Fargo.
Yeah,
it is the exact same thing where you have a handed down policy, whether or not they're explicit, like, no, this is what we want you to do, but not quite like this.
But it
looks like a duck, smells like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's a fucking duck. And to kind of say, all right, listen, the only way that you could hit these targets that we're setting for you, which is a quota system, which anybody that works sales will tell you they hate.
Yep.
Nobody likes the quota system. Yep. But they're going to tell you, all right, but if you want, we're not telling you that you have to, use some of these practices, these less than ideal practices to hit these numbers.
But they admit you can get in trouble.
But when logically there is no other workaround for the employees. There is no innovative sales strategy that's going to get around the fact that these guys are actually getting actively penalized for selling new games and new systems. It's based off of a whole percentage system where even if you make, I think the example that they gave is like if you sell $1,000 worth of product at GameStop, at least 300 of that stuff has to be used.
Yeah.
And it's established like that as a metric. Like, well, it's not the nature of you buying and selling games. It's about the nature of your sales having to fit into this GameStop model, and that model is not realistic. And the fact that it forces the employees to engage in these practices or risk corrective action is ridiculous.
It's gotta be a shitty work
and it goes
environment.
against like the entire drive of your business, which is to sell product. And so you're kind of hamstringing your own people in the
But you see why they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're trying,
I mean, their model of the whole resale, but that means they're trying to grasp on a dying model.
Yeah, big time.
And this approach that they're taking isn't even effective as a short-term solution. I mean, hell, again, I'll go back to Wells Fargo. That did not last as long either before you got a lot of backlash. They realized it doesn't work, and you're going to see a lot more damage done to your company than increased performance in your bottom line.
Yep.
So,
Matt, do you ever go into GameStop?
We do actually. I have my son got gift cards from there. But before we buy anything from GameStop, whether it's used or new, I get online and I look for it because I've seen their used titles cost more than brand new.
Yeah,
games.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It used to be great to get used stuff there. Now you go in there and it's like $55 for a used game. Are you fucking kidding me? Well, it's the same thing. Yeah, but I know you bought that from the person for like $15.
Yeah.
That's crap.
Or you open new stock. Because, I mean, if you get online, if you get on YouTube, for example, there's tons of horror stories about people that worked at GameStop that are leaking information and about how horrible they are. And, I mean, there's stories of them taking brand new stock, opening it, and listing it as used.
Yeah.
It's not a new story.
Yeah.
I mean, just so they can get that markup part of it. But, no, there's times that I go in there, and GameStop's not the only one that does this. I don't know where they set their prices from, but I've been to other places. We have other used game places here in town, and there's about all of them. I go and I check how much a brand new one is, because there's been times that I've gone to Nebraska Furniture Mart and got it for $5 less, brand new.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I mean, you're competing with Amazon, eBay, those places like that. A lot of the times, if you're willing to wait 4 days, you can get a hell of a lot cheaper than any of those other places.
Yeah, GameStop has never been known as the cheapest place to get games ever, even before the used thing was such a big thing in the news. I mean, they're obviously holding on to a dying model, and obviously they're going to try to squeeze this as long as they can. They're really going to have to shift their business model somehow and come up with – I know that they started getting into publishing now too. I don't know how they're going to try to be an intermediary digitally when you can buy direct from Sony or direct from Microsoft online. You know what? One of the big reasons that games have been staying at $60 is that $12. I mean, they're not going to come down to like games be super cheap like all the apps you can get on your phone or whatever. It's never going to race the bottom that much because a lot of these games have budgets of tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, you know how much it costs to make like a Grand Theft Auto is a shitload of money. They've got to recoup that cost back, and selling AAA tiered games for like under $40 is just suicide, and we're going to start losing some of these great publishers, companies, and games are just not going to be made. So they have to make their money, and I have no problem paying them for it. But one of the reasons that they're 60 and not at least maybe 50, what if you cut out that $12 allotment for a $60 game that GameStop's having, and we just get them digital? The whole reason a digital game that's $60 is also digital is also $60 for the physical copy in a GameStop or a Best Buy is because they can't undercut the digital copy, which costs them way less to house on a server and for you to download, because if they did it would cannibalize all the GameStops that are also selling their consoles and everything else. It would piss off their vendors. They can't do that. But we know it's going to come to fruition that everything's going to be digital. When's the last time you bought PC software or a PC game in a store?
believe it was for 2000.
2008.
You get everything digitally, right? Because it's just why would you? And that's going to be the same thing from a game. It's just going to take time, and I know that GameStop and maybe some of these other companies are doing everything that they can to prolong that, but we know it is an eventuality that all this stuff, it's ones and zeros.
Yeah.
And as soon as this goes all digital, and I don't know how long it take, I'm surprised that GameStop's been holding out as strong as they have been. But and maybe having the rural areas that don't have access to high-speed internet's probably the last holdout. But as soon as this stuff goes all digital, there's no reason a AAA $60 game can't be $45 to $50, and you will start to see that just by the laws of competition. Because as soon as one publisher does it, so are the rest. It just depends when that first person hits, but that can't happen until this becomes a completely digital marketplace, just like PC software has become. But then to see them, and I understand from a company's perspective, wanting to do everything possible to maintain viability, ethically, it seems a little, I don't even know if I'd say if it's ethically wrong. You're a business, you're allowed to conduct, if you're in sales, you have quotas,
well,
but
that is, but again, it kind of comes down to the practices that the employees are forced into based on these decisions, based on this quota system, where if I walk in there and I have to say, all right, can I get this new game that just came out, and they're actively telling me, even though it's right under the counter.
At that point, then we're talking deception. You're right. That's
and
wrong.
That's
You're
what's
right.
being driven by the quota system, because it's easy at a high level to kind of say, well, we didn't tell them to do this stuff. We just expected to set these kind of targets, which are not reasonable, and they would just find a way to do it.
Yep.
And if the only way that they can do it is by engaging in these kind of practices, they can't just kind of hide behind the shroud of no liability.
Right.
This still kind of comes down to them as far as this is your business, this is how you're driving it, and you can't just do this loose like, well, you told them to do this, more or less.
Yeah.
And you can't hide behind the fact that it's because you didn't write it specifically that you deny the fact that you did.
Yep.
Yeah, because they can't find a memo somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You force their hand.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing
that's
because you
just
don't
it.
want to inhibit or hurt a GameStop employee that's barely getting by.
Yeah.
But you don't want to reward the
$7 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
then you don't want to reward a shit company for doing this. Again, I'm already out anyway. I'm doing digital. If I want to,
Well, when's the last time you guys were in a GameStop? Have you ever been to one?
sure. If I go to the mall, I like going through there and seeing if there's new stuff on the TV, of new stuff coming up, or, it's almost like a kid, going into a toy store. Am I going to buy anything there? No. Am I going to walk around, see some stuff that maybe I haven't? Because again, we're casual gamers. I don't really spend a lot of time playing a whole bunch of games outside.
Well, I don't think a serious gamer is going to go there.
Oh yeah.
A serious gamer may go and put things on order or pre-order or whatever there. But when I go in there, that's not serious gamers. There's not guys in there that haven't bathed in a week rummaging through stuff trying to find it because they already have it.
Yeah.
People that are in there are parents and their kids. Mm-hmm. And when we go there, what we're buying, we're not buying games anymore. We're buying
figurines.
This. I can't.
Yes.
Emoji or what is these?
Amiibo.
Yeah.
Amiibo.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Sorry. So we're in there buying those. We're in there buying merchandise more than anything. Because their games are priced out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard about this before. I have to agree with Dan. It's a deceptive practice.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate for those people that do work there. Mm-hmm. But then again, you're also working at GameStop.
Yeah. I guess my point was I don't think it's illegal. I think it's shitty management, and you need to be coming up with better ideas and not just
Well, and kind of Matt, what you were saying is that this is kind of like a viability model that GameStop can kind of gravitate towards. Is that it is the merchandise now. This is not when people are going in there. It doesn't have to be, your sales breakdown. It doesn't need to be like 90% gaming, 10% other. It could be. What I can kind of see in the future for GameStop is that it's becoming more of a niche. As far as, okay, when you go there, they might have some games because it's called GameStop. But again, you're going there for T-shirts. You're going there for accessories, figurines, just all kind of like collector stuff for this kind of hobby.
If they go that route, that means lots of stores closing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the whole thing.
That is going to be the
with
case.
a shrink like that. Would they survive a shrink?
Yeah,
like
because
that
you
too?
can't survive like on that level of retail without more of a broad, but having a more broad approach. But you can't maintain that broad approach. So the reasonable shift based off of what you're already doing is to kind of go into that more specialty arena.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, they got to think of something else to do because, I mean, even if I was going to buy physical copies of games, which, again, I don't do anymore, I mean, it's here. I don't want to hurt the employees at GameStop because usually the people that are in there are really nice. Usually they're really good.
Yeah.
But fuck this company. It's on its last legs, and it's also holding up the lowering of prices of games universally. Which, I mean, they are. You know, it's not just GameStop.
Evil GameStop.
But you're right. That's not just GameStop's fault. I mean, that's any brick and mortar that. But no, that's not
Walmart,
true because
Target.
I don't
Best
see.
Buy.
Maybe we don't know. Yeah, but do you see Best Buy, at least that we know of, doing any deceptive practices like this to sustain it as long as possible? No, not that I'm aware of. But
They're not really in the resale market.
Right.
They do sell some used games, but I think they get all those third party.
right. Yep.
So that's not their market.
Cool. So are we all boycotting GameStop?
No.
Nope.
I boycott it as much as possible. I don't like going in there because it costs me money.
Yeah.
Oh, not to buy. God, no. But yeah, I like the casual visit.
Oh no. I meant boycott buying.
Oh, I can't remember the last time I ever bought something
Yeah.
at GameStop.
No, I would never actual boycott there with the. My God, get a fucking life. No. Cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you frequent GameStop? How do you feel about this? Let us know.